One.
I hereby declare the Candioid County Board of Commissioners is now in session. I'd like to ask you all, please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's a little bit better, easier to talk at this point. I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. It's a beautiful day out in Candioid County, and it's December 2nd, 2021. We have a very full agenda this morning, and I'd like to start out with the approval of the bills. Commissioner Gardner, and a motion by and a second by Commissioner Nissen.
Yep.
Any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Also, Commissioners, you all received copies of the minutes, and is there any questions or additions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. A motion by Commissioner Nissen to approve the minutes from the previous board meeting.
I'll second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson. No more questions or comments at this point, I understand. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Also passed unanimously. Next up, we are going to, on our agenda is our public hearing, and this is a public hearing for an off-sale liquor license at the Barney's Liquor Store. And it's license application by Cavan LLC. And before we start this, I would just like to share some information. At this point, it looks like there's nobody here to speak up at the public hearing. If at some point when there is nobody here, we're going to move on and we'll ask for if anybody is aware of any written comments that should be given. During this time, the board will not be otherwise making motions to pass anything, and we will call for a motion to close the meeting when everybody has a chance. We got all the information out. At this point, though, for some background information and to give us some update, I'd like to call on Mr. Tom Odens. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. So just a little bit of background on this topic at hand. This is a new license for Cavan LLC doing business as Barney's Liquor Store, which is located on 6647 Highway 71 Northeast, which is on the west side of Eagle Lake in Dover Township. So if you recall, February 16th, 2021, there was a public hearing regarding this same matter in front of the county board. Since then, the ownership of Barney's has changed to Cavan LLC from its new owner. So because of that, there would have to be a new license be issued to the new owner. So they'd have to go through the similar steps as the previous owner in attaining this. They have submitted an application to us, which has been sent on to the attorney as well as the sheriff to be reviewed. They would need a township approval, and that was, it has gone through Dover Township in November. Then we'd have to have a public hearing, which is why we're here today. And then after the public hearing, there would have to be a motion to either approve or deny by the county board this off-sale intoxicating liquor license. Then it would have to go on to the commissioner at the state level to issue the license.
Okay.
So that's just a little bit of background of why we're here. It's something you probably just remember from a few months ago. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Odens. At this point, I see nobody. I will ask, though, anybody would like to speak in reference to this? I hear nobody or see nobody. I will also like to ask if anybody has any written comments that they would like submitted.
Mr. Chair, I have not received any written comments.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have also not received any written comments.
Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing for
Also move.
a motion by Commissioner Gardner to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Now, Mr. Odens.
So there are a couple, so now there's a resolution 21-48, which would actually be a resolution to approve the off-sale license to Cavan LLC doing business as Barney's, which is submitted in your packet. So that would be we would also use this, send it off to the state, telling them that the county board has approved the license if you so choose to adopt it.
Okay. Commissioners, Commissioner Nissen?
I'll move that we adopt 2021-48.
A motion to adopt the resolution by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second
A
it.
second by Commissioner Emdek. Any comments or discussion? I had a couple questions last time, since we approved this, was it last February, for the current owners, I believe it was February, or just fairly recent. We had a public hearing, and there was a couple of people there to talk and were concerned about parking and the traffic. Has anybody, or are you aware of, there's been any issues with that?
I'm unaware of any issues there. As part of the public hearing, we did send letters to adjoining property owners as
Okay.
well as the city of Wilmer, and it was
Good.
posted in the West Central Tribune last
Okay.
Saturday.
All right. Well, if we approve this, I would just encourage the new owners to be good neighbors and stay in contact with their neighbors there and be concerned about them as well. Also, be sure they have the message that by approving this, we're approving this with the understanding that they will abide by all the state rules and regulations concerning off-sale alcohol. Any questions or further comments from anybody? Commissioner Nissen?
I just occasionally stop at the store there for, I like the Deli Express chuck wagons.
Okay.
And they sell them there. And I've never had a problem with parking, ever. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not there all the time either, so I can't speak to that, but every time I've been there, there's been space available. So just a comment.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
And then the one last thing I would recommend, staff would recommend, is we prorate this license to get them on the same schedule as the other liquor licenses within the county. So I would recommend prorating it to $395, and that would get them on the same schedule. So it would expire April 30th, 2022, and at that time would be renewed along with the other licenses within the county.
Okay, that's a request for a motion from anybody?
So move, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek to prorate it and get all our licensing for alcohol on and off sale together, correct?
This would also be with the on-sale establishments that have
Or on sale,
licenses.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
By Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion or comment? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you. Next on our agenda, I would like to call on Administrator Kleindahl and to discuss Middle Fork Crow River Watershed Management Position appointments.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, members of the public, we received notice that Bob Hodap had resigned from the Middle Fork Crow River due to family circumstances and changes, and so we did advertise as required by statute. The first advertisements took place in October, and we had no applications. And so then I came back to board and asked to extend the application to today. Since that time, we have received 2 applications. And what I will do today, Mr. Chair, is I will read the 2 applications letters. I do not know either one of these individuals, so I will go by what they have in their letter. And also, they were both invited to attend, but neither were able to attend. The first one I will read is Jeff Gertens, and I believe you have this information also in your packets. My name is Jeff Gertens. I would like to be considered for the manager position for the Middle Fork Crow River Watershed District. I grew up in Candioid County and spent a lot of time fishing, canoeing, hunting, carp shooting on the lake and river in the area. My work took me away from the area, but we would come back numerous times a year. Over a lot of time of changes have taken place in the watershed that have made the continuation of active water resources plan vital. It was good to see all the information on the One Watershed One plan that was developed for the watershed in this area. Having retired back to this area, I would like to take a more active role in overall water quality and water use planning in this watershed. My wife and I own Wheeler's Campground on Diamond Lake and also have property on Schultz Lake. My wife's family farm is on Schultz Lake and Wheeler Lake north of Atwater. I've been working with the Middle Fork River for several years. In 2018, we won the Middle Fork River Watershed District Project of the Year. I continue to have discuss items with John Morales at Middle Fork regularly. As a landowner, I've worked with Josh Kavanaugh when he was at Ducks Unlimited on Wheeler Schultz Hubbard Drawdown Project. Josh is now at the DNR, and we continue to discuss items regularly. So that was Jeff Curtins. The second individual I received an application from was Tim Groshens. And he says, I'm ready to submit a name for consideration for the opening of the Middle Fork River Watershed District. Over 20 years ago, my wife and I purchased a place on Diamond Lake. We used the place seasonally until I retired in 2019. At that time, I moved to Diamond Lake permanently. I have been a member of the Diamond Lake Association, Diamond Lake Area Recreation Association for 20 years. And in 2019, I began to serve as the president of that organization. My experience as a staff in some organizations and as a member of the board in other organizations has helped me develop a keen understanding of the important role of each. I will bring that strength to the Watershed District. In my 20 years in this area, I have witnessed many changes in the different bodies of water in a watershed district. While there have been setbacks such as zebra mussels, overall, I think we are headed in the right direction toward improved water quality. Many of the practices that were completely acceptable 20 years ago would never be allowed to happen today. In great part, the improvements I have seen are a direct result of increasing concerns about water quality by residents of the watershed. This concern has led to both increased calls for government action as well as changes in the way individuals behave. I think future improvements are dependent on even greater education of public on the causes and solutions of water quality. Thank you in advance for your consideration. And if you believe I can be assistant to serve in water, I would be happy to do so. So, Mr. Chair, what we would need to have the board do today is accept one of these applicants.
Thank you, Mr. Kleindall. First off, I'd like to thank both candidates for this appointment for their interest in Candioid County and the Watershed District. It's really nice that we have people step forward in doing these things. On the other hand, it's very difficult with this little bit of information without nobody to talk to make any decision. I mean, if I was to make a decision, I know somebody, I know one of them, and so I would think I would probably support that person. But I'd like to see what the rest of the commissioners, what you think. Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, the only one I really know is Jeff Gertjens, and I think he would be very qualified if that's okay. What I like about him is he owns Wheeler's Campground on Diamond Lake, and then also his wife has some land or a farm by Schultz and Wheeler Lake, and I think that they've been here, their whole life pretty much, and they really got roots in the area, and I think they would really help out. I know the other individual is very qualified too, so I hope it doesn't discourage him from applying in the future for something else for the county. Okay. But I would like to make the motion to accept Jeff Gertjens.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would second.
You made a motion. You second that motion?
Yeah, I'm going to second it.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Anderson and a second by Commissioner Endek. Okay, any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
I think Commissioner Anderson said it very eloquently. It's thanking everybody for being able to, or for being willing to step up, and hopefully Mr. Groshens doesn't get discouraged from serving, in the future. I too struggle. To me, it's a flip of a coin. I think both of them would have done a very good job. Unfortunately, we have to make a choice, and hopefully we make the best choice.
Sure. Any other commissioners have a comment?
I don't know either one of them.
Okay.
Kind of out here in left field. The other fellow certainly seems to have a very good resume as well. So it's a hard one.
I'm in Raleigh's situation as well. I don't know either candidate. I did appreciate Mr. Groshen's comment that he served as staff in some organizations and board members, others, and that he understands the role of each. And I've served on many boards where folks don't understand the difference in those roles. So I'm extremely appreciative. If I were going just off of the two applications, I might lean towards Mr. Groshen's actually. But because I don't know either candidate, I think I have to lean on the expertise of my colleagues over here at the other end of the bench.
Okay. Myself, again, I know Mr. Groshen's, and he's the only one I know, and I think he'd be very qualified to do this, there's no doubt. But like we said, we got two good candidates. Any further discussion before I call the question? Again, no matter which way it goes, we got two good candidates, and I appreciate that. We're lucky. It's a good problem to have, I guess, even as a complicated one for us. Okay, hearing no more discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion to say aye.
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 All opposed, say aye. Aye. At this point, it passed 4-1, and we'd like to welcome Mr.
Gertchen.
Gertgren, is that how you say it?
Jeffrey, yep.
Yep, okay, thank you. Okay. And that ends that. Next agenda item, Mr. Kleindl, I would like to know about that damn club.
It's a yearly event, and Roger probably can tell you more about it. It's a fundraiser for the New London Chamber. There'd be a gambling permit to be held at the Little Crow Golf Course Resort. And this is an annual event.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would move on the resolution 2021-46.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the gambling permit. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, just to edify the public on this.
Yes, I would like a clarification with the
So,
acronym.
New London's Chamber of Commerce has a contingent of it that, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years ago already, they created this dam club, and they sell a certain number of tickets at $50 a piece, and then on the night of the banquet, they draw somebody's name for Christmas, New Year's, you've seen those kind of things, and then in spring, they have a mixer. The money gets used to support Water Days in New London as well as the Coronation Group. So I believe this is going to be the last year that this group is going. Well, not that it'll be discontinued, but the people that have been doing this for several years are wanting to pass the torch, and probably the businesses in New London will pick it up. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay. What's that? Is this an acronym?
No, I don't know. It had something.
Okay.
It had something that I don't even know how it came
Well,
up.
they had to do with the dam.
With the dam,
and then they were organizing, trying to, back doing fundraisers with.
And it might have been about the same time the new dam was being built in New London.
Okay.
So just,
I don't want
Gotta call it
to
something.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion on this? If not, I'll call the question to approval for the gambling permit. And all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Mr. Kleindl, you got another one.
I wish all my presentations were as easy as these last two. The next one is for a permit to allow the Spicer Commercial Club to use Salisbury Beach area for the Winterfest Ice Castle starting January 14th and going to January 30th. They do have the necessary insurance that is required. Like I said, I wish all my presentations were as easy as this one.
Okay. Commissioner Nissen.
I will make that motion.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Endek. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. And now I'd like to call on Mr. Mel Odens, Public Works Director, and you have an agreement for us and consent.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board. One more time, I'm up here with the Old Mill Raceway project. We were able to get the consent and conveyance agreement all signed by the owners. So until that was signed, I didn't want to take it before this body. We would be the last signature. So what you've got in your packet is an action item, which is this, and then I've also included the grant agreement, just as an FYI, and we can discuss that if you want, but I just wanted to get that in there because we did get it, and you had previously authorized me to sign that once we did get it, so no actions needed at this time. But anyway, for the first action item, it's the Old Mill Inn Raceway Severance and Conveyance Agreement, which will in fact be filed with the deed. So inside the conveyance document is the MOU that we had put together, that some of the restrictions, some of the expectations of the owners. And one of the expectations was to provide a 70-foot parcel from our road right-of-way down to Green Lake, and that's what this conveyance does. So basically what it does is it severs the property from the Old Mill plat. It conveys that property via quitclaim deed to the county, and then it also has the MOU attached, so all the terms that we previously all agreed to. So the action that I would be looking for today would be to authorize the chair and the auditor to sign on behalf of the county, the severance and conveyance agreement on behalf of the county.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Emdek.
I would move on the Old Mill agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Emdek to move on the Old Mill Agreement. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Nissen. Any comments or discussion? Commissioner Nissen.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a long time since we first started talking about it.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of people involved in getting to this point. And I want to publicly thank everybody who was involved. The Watershed, they didn't have any skin in the game, but they helped facilitate the conversation. The DNR, the county, and of course the owners. I mean, it was rather complex over there because there was property that was common interest community. So we needed a lot of agreements, and it's going to be a good outcome. We discovered by accident, really, that we are the owners of that dam since 1962, but they just forgot to give us the tailpipe.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
now we have the tailpipe too, and we can make sure that everything is done
Okay.
in a safe manner.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Very well said. We have a motion and a second to approve this agreement. I just noticed that we had 90 pages of information.
Yeah,
Very detailed.
right. I was gonna read it, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad you didn't, but we did. So, and we are all fairly familiar with this. We have a motion and a second, and at this point, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
So, go ahead, Doug.
Oh,
Well, I just wanted to take a moment, Mr. Chair, and thank Mel for coordinating and hanging in there and keeping everybody walking in the same direction. Sometimes when you walk in a circle, you forget where you started. And it seems like over the last 3.5 years,
Yep.
you've done a great job on this. So I want to say thank you for all the work you did.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. There's a lot of pieces, and like Commissioner Emdek said, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of work, and I do want to thank them as well. I mean that it's an effort, and we're all looking for the same end here. So yeah, thank you.
Well, and I know the county commissioners also want to say ditto to what Mr. Kleindahl said.
Okay.
And I think we commented maybe last time we talked about this too, how this is really looking to the future. And the whole thing was talking about planning for the future, what's best down the road, 30 years, 50 years from now. And
Yep.
it's a good motion and good agreement. So thank you.
Yep. So the last thing is not an action item, but I did want you to, I just wanted to quickly, the grant agreement with the state. You might recall that we originally were going to go after state bonding dollars next year in the bond. And the DNR had available some dam safety money that was unused but needed to be reused. There's an opportunity before the end of calendar year 2021. So we kind of had to fast track this a little bit, which threw a little bit of a wrinkle, but we had a lot of people that made that happen. And so we did the grant application a month ago. We got the grant. And now, and the grant is for $260,000 that we would apply toward this project. So I will be signing that tomorrow and sending that in. And hopefully now we can just discuss bricks and mortar and the plans. And we don't have the legal stuff to go through anymore. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the update. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to ask Mel real quick, that 260,000 covers a good chunk of this,
It's a
correct?
50-50 grant.
Okay.
And we would, of course, we've got other dollars that we can use from the state aid side that we'd apply to this. So this helps us a lot.
So these probably aren't levy dollars then, correct?
Yeah, there won't be any levy dollars included in this.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you again.
I don't think we.
You got to vote for that first item. I don't know if you voted or not.
I thought we did.
You had a motion.
Thank you.
You have
Okay.
a motion, but not a.
Okay, we have a motion and assumed we voted unanimously, but let's find out. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you. The next item is a rescinding resolution number 2021-45, and I'd like to call on Corey Smith. But first, before we talk about that, I heard through the grapevine and that congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
And this is that you passed your Class A and you are officially certified now. Can
Yep.
you just briefly tell us what that all involved and
So yeah, Class A test, that's what our wastewater facility is, and you have to work your way up from Class D to C to B to A, and then yes, finally passed my Class A. There isn't too many Class A operators in the state, so
Really?
it was a tough test.
So this is a big deal.
Yes, I'm glad that's over.
Well,
Congratulations.
congratulations. Very well done, and thank you for the time and effort to reach that. Would you want to proceed with the rest of the information then?
Yes, so good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm here before you today to rescind Resolution 2021-45 and ask for approval on Resolution 2021-47. On November 16th, I took Resolution 2021-45 to the county board here where it was adopted. The following day, staff learned that parcel number 27-980-6760 and parcel number 27-980-6515 could not be assessed. And the reason for that is they are classified as mobile homes. Instead, it should be assessed to the lot owner, which is parcel number 27-022-0280. For $493.62. Please note there is a difference between Resolution 2021-45 and the new one. From the previous resolution, one of the parcel numbers, 27-980-6760, had paid their outstanding balance. That is why the total of the new resolution only contains that $493.62.
Okay. Looks like we have two motions. At this point, I would entertain a motion to rescind number 2021-45.
No, so move.
Motion by Commissioner Gardner and a second by
I'll second that.
Commissioner Endeck. Any questions or comments about rescinding the motion? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Okay, now we want to look at the motion concerning resolution number 2021-47.
So move on.
A motion by Commissioner Endeck to
21.
move on that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion on that new motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations from the board. Again, very proud of you. And now I'd like to call on Administrator Kleindorf.
Working. Take a break after.
Oh,
Oops, that's not.
now?
After.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh,
Okay,
nothing.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners again. As you recall, the next item on the agenda is discussion on changing the compensation for the county commissioners. As you recall, this last summer, I approached you with a couple options and said that later in the year, when we set your annual salary for 2022, that we would be having this, I would like to have a discussion about eliminating the per diems and just going to a straight salary. And in your packets, what I've kind of have talked about is what I did is I took the last 5 years of everybody's per diems. And I found out what the average person would make on per diems. And I took what your average salary was that you have set for yourself, and I combined them, and I came up with that average per diem was $8,249. Your current annual salary is $31,380. If you combine them, it comes to $39,630 per person. The reason I am bringing this up to eliminate the per diems, it's an administrative nightmare, not only for our staff to track and log them, but it's also a lot of administrative nightmare for you as well. Which ones do you count? What meetings do you count as a per diem? How do you put it in? How do you track it? If you don't get it in, you miss out on it. A lot of counties our size and bigger this is a route that have gone to, and they're learning that from an administrative standpoint, from the auditor treasurer's office and my office, it just frees up a lot of checking and balance and stuff. The board can't change their salary until at the end of each year they set their salary, and it starts at the beginning of the following year. So on December 21st, we will do a resolution setting what your salary would be. And then that would take place on January 1st of 2022. And we do that for all elected officials and not just the commissioners. So this is a perfect time for us to have this discussion about how do we want to go about doing the salary, going away from salary and per diems. And so I put together some thoughts about what this mean. One of the things I put as a suggestion is maybe the chair and the vice chair, because of the number of meetings, additional meetings they have, they could add a bonus salary to that. Another option to that is that the board and the vice chair could have less committees, and so it balances out that way. So you guys have a lot of choices on this. I'm giving you some recommendations, but the reason we're having this discussion today is so that I can put it together and bring it forward. I think this is the third time that I've had this discussion, so it's not something we rushed into. This is something that we are taking our due diligence and researching this. This does not affect your meal reimbursement or your travel mileage funds. This is only for your compensation. Some of the things that we may want to look at is if we do away with the per diems and just go to a salary, what does that mean for those of you who are on committees that committee pays a per diem? Does that per diem go to the commissioner? Do you set a policy that we reject any outside per diems? Or do we say that per diem should go to the county? So those are some things that you have an option. And then as part of this, going to a budget salary only will limit the guest factor when it comes to budgeting for the annual per diem cost, assisting in planning for future expenditures. per diem costs are unknown and driven by individual commissioners' activity. And each year, the county board will continue to set the salary in December every year. Future adjustments could be equal to the cost of living to whatever the county employees are. So if the county employees have a set cost of living at 2%, and that's what the employees have, that would just follow what the commissioners would have. And again, so you don't, we do the creep and not the leap on those salaries. At some point, if you or the future board said, I don't like the salary options, in December of 2022, you could revert back and go back to per diems. And then I also, in your packets, I kind of listed out some items what you'd want to discuss about allowable meetings and expense reimbursements. If you recall, when we do our organizational meeting every January, when we do our January meeting, we list all the committees, and then you guys vote, and these are the committees that are accepted to get per diems. What I did in a proposed resolution for mileage reimbursement is kind of state what committees that you should be getting per diems on. Again, to make it clear, try to clean it up of what is acceptable for mileage and what is not. And so it keeps us as a county, upfront with the state auditors, and it just makes it easier for you as individuals to know what is claimable and what is not. And so on your third page, I have a list. It says county mileage reimbursement, and it has a resolution 2021 with no number. And is there anything that you see in that area that I missed or we should include?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Imdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Larry, for putting this together. I've spent a fair amount of time looking at this. Yesterday morning, I was on a conference call. Some of you are aware that through COVID, the president of the Association of Minnesota Counties has regularly had what he calls a coffee with the president. And so commissioners and staff from around the state are on this meeting, and was a really great opportunity to kind of like have your back of the room discussions that we have at the AMC conference, where we visit with other counties and see what they're doing. You're correct. It seems like many counties are moving to a salary-only thing, and I think it makes sense for the simplicity, for all the reasons that you gave. I would add a couple of tweaks to it that, as a suggestion, and most of them aren't going to make a big difference. One of the things that you talked about, COLA, the legislature last year, because for many, many years, the legislature has, for political reasons, has not given themselves raises because they didn't want to be seen as, giving themselves a raise. So finally, it was kind of taken out of their hands, and they have an automatic raise every year, a COLA raise. They don't have to discuss it every year. They don't have to approve it. I know that our statute says that we do need to do that, and I'm fine with it. But I think it would make sense now and in the future to have the same COLA as that we negotiate with our employees. The reimbursements all seem to make a lot of sense. There's a couple of notes that I had made regarding, and I've got Commissioner Anderson sitting to my right, who's 25 miles away from town. I agree that if we're meeting with Kiwanis or meeting with, civic groups, constituents, that's part of the job we got hired to do. But if we come into town to Road and Bridge, or if we come in, if Public Works gives us a call and said, look, we want you to join us at a pre-construction meeting, or we want you to come in and look at the appraisals for the land that we have to buy for this road that we're right away, I think it's only fair that we get paid the mileage, not a per diem, just the mileage to come in for those meetings.
So what would you want to call that?
Really, I mean, it's not just Public Works that happens. I think we get called in. I was just in a meeting last week with Health and Human Services talking about something, and I'm not on that committee. We spent a couple of hours doing that, and time we're not going to get paid for, but the mileage. Just about any department head, when we're requested to come in, If we're not requested, fine. I don't think we should be paid, but if we're requested to be in attendance, I think it makes sense.
Mr. Chair, if I added that, meetings with staff or the department heads, would that suffice? If I added that what does other commissioners feel about that
That is
as
fine.
allowable expense?
Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, I think I hear Commissioner Imdeck saying that this would pertain to meetings attended if requested by staff or the administrator.
Yeah, requested. I mean, if we just show up,
Right.
Right.
no.
Okay. Mr. Kleindl, looks like you did a very good job putting this together. It covers a lot of different things. I did have a couple of questions and comments. When you figure the overall salary, there are several committees that have a separate per diem, which you talked about. Was
Yes.
that calculated, those dollars into the formula to come up with 39,630?
Mr. Chair, if there were per diems that the county paid out, they would have been accounted for. If you got a per diem from a joint powers board
That's
that
not
they
calculated
paid,
in
that would not been encountered, because I wouldn't have knowledge of that.
Okay. Commissioner Imdeck.
Mr. Chair, I also have a comment about outside per diems. And so I am on page 3 of 4 where it says, be it further resolved that options to consider. Number 1 is per diems from outside entities shall not be accepted by Candioid County Commissioners for meeting attendance. I'm afraid that's going to discourage us from engaging in things like the Association of Minnesota Counties or Minnesota Jobs and Training or any of those outside entities or joint powers that we invest our time in. So I think that if an outside per diem is being offered, that the commissioners ought to be able to accept that. And number 3 is just a variation of the same thing, that it not be turned back to the county, but that the commissioner is able to receive that. I'll just give you an example, and I'm not, as when I go to Association of Minnesota Counties meeting, I leave at 7:30 in the morning and get home at 4:30 in the afternoon. And, that's a big commitment for me. If you're still running a business or own a farm or whatever, or have a job, that's a big commitment. So I don't think it's unreasonable.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. And just to piggyback off of Commissioner Imdeck, I think that's a fair thing to do if we are not already receiving a per diem as part of our official duties for that. Is that what I hear Commissioner Imdeck saying as well?
Yeah, we shouldn't be double dipping. And,
Right.
and when I go to the ANC meeting, it's the Association of Minnesota Counties that pays the per diem. And a lot of times those per diems are less than our own per diems have been. So, we're not getting rich off of it. And, it does encourage you to participate in those outside entities.
And the whole point, whatever one of those 3 that you choose to decide, I'm okay. I just think to be upfront and so everybody's on the same page and consistency. And again, when we get into January 4th, when we do the committees assignments, we want to make sure that, again, we try to balance out the committees as much as possible.
Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that was one of my questions that I was wondering about. Has there historically been a wide difference in the number of committee assignments between individual commissioners? And the reason I ask the question is I can only assume that when, as Commissioner Anderson and myself were new commissioners at the beginning of the year, I would imagine that our committee load was a little less than our longstanding members.
I think we try to get them as equal as possible. What happens with the committees that's so hard to measure is some committees meet monthly, some are every other week, some meet once a year, some meet twice a year. And so you might have, a commissioner may have 16 committees, but only 10 of them are active.
Yeah.
And you could have 10 committees that you're on, and you're going all the time. You're never off.
Yeah, Mr. Kleindahl, yeah, some committees have subcommittees that you become part of as well, and you have to chair that committee maybe as well. So, yeah, it varies, and it's really hard to balance that. I think we try to.
In my 16 years of being here, and when I look at the committees, I try to have you guys spread them out as much as possible. Oftentimes the committee times and dates will change, and so then it goes a whole year, and oftentimes I don't know they have changed. And I encourage people that if they've been on a committee a long time, give it up and let someone else have an opportunity.
Yeah,
May I also add to that, too, being on a committee, it is really probably a good idea to be on a committee at least 2 years. It really takes 1 year to get up to speed, and then you're on that committee. So not to give that up. I think if I heard your question right, Mr. Gardner, is, as newer commissioners on the board, how did things even out? And I think historically, I don't know about new commissioners if they got as many or not, but I think the trend is that they have been getting, because of concern that some people weren't on enough committees, they wanted more. I think the two new guys got a lot of committees, and I think we got to work to make them as easy as possible. But now once they're in them, the person gets a committee, you hate to give it up because you get to know the people and
And you know the situations.
Yeah, so it gets real complicated. The other question is I feel really good about our board, and I think one of the questions would be is, well, be sure everybody's doing their share. I think we will all do our share when we're on the committee as much as possible. I just personally want to, being the chair, want to speak to the issue, and you talked about that, about the chair and the vice chair would receive a bonus for what they do because, as we all know, this is a 30-hour, 7-day-a-week plus job. And as a chair, then you add that extra on there, and you get up. But everybody has different preferences. And to me, the preference would be, and which we did this past year, has worked out really well for me to take less committees and because of the extra responsibilities. And so I would like that if in the option that you did talk about is that the chair or the vice chair can choose to accept a bonus or take fewer committees. And we'd have to kind of come up with what would be fair in doing that. So, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did just want to follow up with one more question from previously. Larry, you mentioned that you'd visited with some other counties,
Yes.
Typically counties of our size that are moving to this. I'm wondering how have those changes where they've gone from the per diem system to just the salary, how has that been received by the boards in general and as well as their constituents?
Sure. It's all about education and knowledge. So to the public who's watching, this is not a raise. This is what dollars were already being spent. So if you look at what the top 5 years per diem, we just took that average and we added to the salary. So it's the same amount that was being levied already. So education and let them make the public aware this is not a salary raise. You're for the most part, most of the commissioners are getting the same amount already. What we're doing is instead of tracking it in two different ways, a salary and a per diem, where you have to turn your per diems in monthly. Every meeting you write down, you're writing down what the meeting was, the dollar amount. You put it on a piece of paper, you add it up, you dropped it off downtown to the auditor treasurer's office. They have to go through it. They look through each one and, I think there's that one's twice, and have to call you and say, I think you put that on there twice. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you take it off? And say, so it's not a salary increase for the county commission. It's a change in administrative ways of doing business. And so to answer your question, it's about getting the word out. And I think what I and you have been trying to do, the reason why we didn't do this right away in June, and when I talked about it at my administrator update last meeting, and when I talked about it today, and we'll actually bring this to the 21st meeting, is to let people know the transparency of this, that we are trying to clean some things up. And my administrative report, I'll be talking about some other ideas I have going forward for 2022. That's a long answer, I'm sorry, but it really is about education and informing what this means. Why is this?
Well, I'm appreciative that we had some extra time in the agenda to expand this discussion, I think, just a little bit. And I suspect that this is probably the easier, cleaner way to go when all things are considered. Again, you're saying, and I agree, there is no raise here other than that you're going to then put a COLA in there so that if we decide to do that, so that adjustment we don't need to worry about now or in the future. So I'm appreciative of the work that you put into this. I would agree that there are times when some of these outside entity per diem payments should be allowed to be accepted. That would be the position I would take there.
So, Mr. Chair, in order for me to put this together for the next board meeting, which was December 21st, if I could have an understanding if you're for going with the salary versus per diem, and at least I can, when I come to the board, I can have a packet put together. And also if you could give me some direction on outside entities paying per diems. If I could get, and we don't have to make it, I'm not asking for a consensus or you to vote on it, but if I could kind of get a feel where you're at, so when I'm putting this together, I know what you're looking for. For example, one of the things that Commissioner Hemdeck brought up, if you look at that mileage resolution, all I would do is on the items not allowed, number 3, I would just move that up to items that are allowed. So there's some, I think I have a lot of the stuff in here, I just have to retweak it. And so we're not doing the same thing in 2 weeks, having the same discussions. I would like to have some direction of, is this something you want me to keep working on? Or should I stop and we just keep it the way it is?
And I'd just like to repeat what you said, Mr. Kleindahl, that, if we do try something out like this and come the end of the year that it's not working out, we can go back to the old method. We'd have to go through the same process again, but vote on that. Mr. Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of things on the committee assignments to respond to Commissioner Gardner. Harlan was here for a lot of years. And when Harlan decided not to run again, some of the committees that he had been on, served well on for many years, gave us an opportunity to do some switching around, and I think we did that. I believe we made an effort to make them as even as possible, but which kind of segues into the other thing about the vice chair and chair receiving a modest addition. It's just a lot cleaner to do the 1,500 versus, because not only do you have to count the committees, you got to count the times they meet, how long their meetings are, and what the distance is, and all of that. So for me, I'd prefer that method, but I'm not going to fall on my sword over it. Okay. And Larry's asking for direction. I think I made my direction pretty clear, what I'm thinking, so
Same here.
I'll rest.
May I just, I agree with you, but I also would like to have the option that if a person chooses not to take that they could take a few less committees. That's basically what I'm saying. So, yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to have something in there like that because everybody's different. And to me, the time is more important. So.
I haven't really had a chance to absorb any of this. I have a brother-in-law that just passed away, so we were in hospice and visiting him every other day. And my wife and I haven't traveled anywhere. We just got back from Nashville. So I would like a little more time to absorb what's in here and maybe make some suggestions at some later date.
Perfect. And that's, Mr. Chair, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to put it out today. And then actually have a decision made on the 21st.
So that would give you a little over 2 weeks
Yeah,
to look at it and
We're
chew on it
back
a little bit more. And
as soon as I recover from the travel.
Jet lag? You got some
yeah,
jet lag?
yeah, it sounds like you've been through quite a bit. And I want to hear back from you too, because you have a lot of committees. And you're doing a good job on your committees, and this kind of changes things in that way. I would like to see us discuss this and possibly do something come the next board meeting. But Commissioner Anderson, do you?
I'm good. My only concern is if we did this, and I brought it up to Mr. Kleindell, is that if we go away from per diems, would we get more lazy about going to meetings and not attend them? That's my concern. It does give you an incentive to show up if you get a per diem.
And I think I said a little bit, if I may please, in reference to that, earlier I mentioned too that we have a really good board, and I'm not really worried about the current board we have, but I have those same concerns in the future.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if that does happen, then I think that the board then at that time could, change the mechanism as well.
Mr. Chair, if you look at the cover page that I have, it's options only. If you look at number 2, it says median attendance. The board should consider dividing committees' assignments as evenly as possible to ensure commissioners have relatively the same commitment levels. Number 2, the board should consider setting the expectations for meetings attendance and identify a reporting practice among the group. And we do committee reports and stuff, and,
Speaking of which.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Is that enough information for you, Mr. Kleindall? Commissioner
No,
Emden?
thought I saw Mr. Gardner's hand up.
Yeah, I thought I saw your hand up, so.
Okay, so it's clear as mud, I guess. All right.
So what I'll probably end up doing, Mr. Chair, is on outside per diems, I'll have to have 3 different types of resolutions drawn up and up.
Yep.
Looks like I'll have to just present all 3 options.
Yep.
And have to have,
And I suppose the fourth option, none of those, and leave things.
and
alone.
we can keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I really appreciate you stressing, and I think we're all concerned too for the taxpayers that, we're not asking for a salary raise at this point. The only changes would be possibly additional dollars for the chair and vice chair, which seems appropriate.
I did want to clarify something that Mr. Gardner brought up. So I think by statute, we can't put in the policy that we automatically get the raise. I think we have to do that every year on January 1st or December.
You have to set your salary every year.
So that COLA would have to be approved.
So-
Even though it's maybe a recommendation of the policy, it would still have to be acted on. In the legislature, they don't have to do that.
Right. What it does is
I
give
like
the
that.
future boards a direction of what the intent was.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you for the clarification.
And Commissioner Nissen, did you have?
No.
Okay. All right.
All right, we'll see you on the 21st on this
Okay.
topic.
All right, we look forward to continue this discussion down the road. It's a good discussion to have, and it's nice to have time to talk about some of the things. At this point, I would, you have more you want to present?
Oh, no, let's go to the next
At this
item.
point, I would like to take a break for 10 minutes, and we'll be back here at 10 minutes after 11. County Board of Commissioners is now back in session. At this point, I'd like to call in Candioid County Administrator, Mr. Kleindahl. And you have an agreement about broadband with Candioid County and the city of Princeburg.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, let me give you an update and refresher. So as you recall with the ARP dollars, we've been approving broadband agreements, dollar amounts to different groupings. And I believe you've done 6 so far. 5 so far. Got one coming next meeting. 5 so far. And what we learned from the CARES Fund is that every time that we give an entity dollars, we need to do a sub-recipient agreement, or agreement that says what the federal law is, what is the whole intent of what the rulings are, and the dollar amounts, and what the reporting requirements are for the state auditors. So this is probably the only one I'll bring to you because I want you to see what these reports are looking like, and that's why I put it in a packet. We have, I think, Charter Spectrum, we're going to have 4 of them. The EDC, we have one that's completed for the broadband administration. I think we did $11,000 for that. This is with the city of Princeburg, and as you recall, you guys gave me permission to contract with Kennedy and Graven out of the cities. They're also our bond legal counsel, and they're used to working with public entities in drawing up what the federal requirements. And so we've been working with them on developing these agreements. I also have shared this information with County Attorney's Office, Shane Baker, and he and I have gone through it. And then, of course, every entity has their own legals go through it as well. But I just wanted you to see what these will be. In the future, I will sign up, because you will approve the dollar amounts when where they're going to go. This is just what they have to do for reporting purposes. Okay? So, for example, in the first page, it talks about what our federal requirements are. What is the dollar amounts that we received up to this point? When did we enter an agreement with the federal government? The agreement that we have with Princeburg, you have granted up to $330,000 to do broadband with the city of Princeburg. City of Princeburg will be contracting with Arvik, if you recall, and they will be coming and doing that area. And Dwayne will be very happy to have his constituents taken care of in Princeburg. Some of the requirements that we will be asking, and almost all the agreements will have these type of reporting requirements. Each one will be a little different. The city of Princeburg is a government entity, so we're asking them for a copy of the agreement between the city of Princeburg and Arvik. We want to have their copy. A copy of a certificate of completion, and the city of Princeburg will provide proof of expenditures and receipts. So when the city of Princeburg will be paying all the bills, and we will be reimbursing them, and they'll just keep the receipts and stuff for state auditing purposes. And when we do the other entities, it'll be something similar, but there we will be giving the entities directly the funds, and they'll have to prove it to us, and then we keep the receipts and expenditures. We also put in what the deadline is. Every entity will be a little bit different on what when the project is completed, how soon do they have to get the reports to us? And then other entities also have to give us their audit reports when they get audited. And so Mark's office will maintain all those data. When you look at the attachments on these, each one has, the first part has an attachment talking about what the projects are. And then we have to give the agreement that we have with the federal government, the U.S. Treasury's office. We provide that in each one of these agreements. And then we have to give out what the federal rule is. And that federal rule is 38 pages and how the ARP funds can be used. And then we have a 42-page document that we attach to this. It talks about what the legal reporting guidelines, and they have to be put in each one of these documents. So each one of these documents will be over 100 pages. And I didn't bring that to you, but if you want, if anybody wants to see those legal requirements, I can bring those. But they're documents that are out there, stuff that we talked about early on when we got the ARP funds, when I did the handouts. So for this first time, Mr. Chair, I'm just asking, kind of ceremonial, that you give me permission to sign this. And if you have any questions about this agreement and how it's written up and why it's written up the way it is.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to authorize the administrator to execute the subaward agreements as needed on behalf of the county.
Okay. Yeah, just to clarify, your motion, not just this one.
Not just this one, but agreements going forward. And this would be, because they're subaward, I think it maybe is self-explanatory, but I'll make it explicit, that these are for dollars already awarded by board action on the ARPA
Correct.
dollars.
Yep, you guys, each award action would come first, and then once it comes first, and we send it to the legal office, they write up the reports and put the necessary requirements in, and then when I get back, I'll sign it with the parties.
Well, we have a motion, and we can discuss it a little bit. Do I have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Anderson. Now, want to continue? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Endek.
As part of the discussion, thank you, Mr. Chair, as part of the discussion, one of the questions I would have, does this subaward agreement, does it transfer the responsibility to the partner for the reporting along with the liability?
We all carry the liability.
So
Because you do,
If Princeburg gets something wrong, then it behooves us to go over all their work to make sure they do it right.
that is correct. They're ultimately responsible, and that, when they sign this agreement, they're saying they're responsible. But because the money is given to us from the U.S. Treasury Department, we're the ultimate responsible person. That's why we put in what's required for them to show that they spent the money correctly.
If I may continue.
Please proceed.
So who's going to be doing that? Is it the auditor's office? Is it the county attorney's office? Is it you? Who's going to be doing that?
It'll be, currently, the auditing responsibility will fall to the auditor treasurer's office.
Okay.
And then the state auditors each year will come in and review these documents that I have in each one of these agreements.
And hopefully it's as simple as Mr. Oden's checking to see if we got the right mileage to Princeburg when we drove to Princeburg that day.
A little bit more complicated.
Complicated than that?
Okay,
And to further answer your question, when we met with the state auditors this year, Karen Anderson and Mark Thompson and myself, we asked them to give us a checklist of what is required with these new dollars. And so part of this that we're doing is a little bit more overkill than we did before, but we want to make sure, because this goes until 2026, some of us won't be here in 2026. And we want to make sure we start that process, and so that tracking is all there.
just to be clear then, we already voted on these dollars, and we're giving you authorization to go ahead and do the contracts and agreements. Now, we voted on these dollars, just to also be clear, it's not the full amount of dollars that we're going to use our funds, but we voted on this 330,000, correct?
You did
And so in future, we can sign off stuff we already voted on.
correct.
Okay, and the auditors are going to be okay with
And
it.
so, correct. And so you're not authorizing me to sign anything that has not been approved by you.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
Thank you for sparing us from these 100-page documents, by the way.
That's your Christmas present.
Well, and Mr. Kleindall, thank you for taking this on, because this is going to make one less step for you having to deal with some of these issues, or more than one less step. Okay, at this point, I'd like to call on Mr. Mel Odens and final payments and acceptance.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, what you've got in your packet is the final payment and acceptance of the maintenance striping for what we did this year. In the county, we did the northwest section of the county and all the cities and the seal coat. We do about 150 miles. Next year would be the northeast part of the county, so Rogers area. So the project came in on time under budget, and so it's my recommendation to accept the project and authorize final payment to Traffic Marketing Services in the amount of $4,226.51.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any comments, questions, discussion? Not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed. Passed unanimously. Thank you, Mel. And next, I'd like to call on Mr. Gear, our environmental director, and you are going to have two separate agreements. We're going to handle them two separate, but they're very similar. And
Yes.
we'll vote on them separately. And this is in reference to management fees. Please proceed.
You may want to give, excuse me, you may want to give a little background for the two other newer commissioners.
Yep, will do. Yes, Gary Gear, Candioid County Environmental Services Director, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. These waste delivery agreements were a result of, from 2017, when some ordinance changes were made previously by Jeff Bredberg and county staff to change the fee structure at the landfill, and part of that then was drafting these agreements with the haulers to kind of guarantee a certain volume or amount of solid waste to be delivered to the landfill. So that is kind of the little bit of the history of where they came from, and it was a 5-year agreement, so it was from 2017 through 21, and now this one is also a 5-year agreement, both with, and in 2017 it was with West Central Sanitation and Miller Sanitation. Miller has sold out to Waste Management, and Waste Management is now taking over. They took over that agreement, and then now this one has been written up for them specifically. If I start with the Waste Management one, it is a 5-year agreement, and it is just specifically stating that all of the waste generated in Candioid County, they will be delivering to the Candioid County landfill. So that's the guarantee within that agreement. So staff would be recommending that you approve the agreement as presented.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Gardner.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the solid waste delivery agreement with Waste Management Incorporated.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Anderson. Questions or comments? They're quite lengthy.
They are.
But it's for 5 years, and that's really
Yes.
good news. And I commend you for, as often we talk about planning at least 5 years ahead on a lot of the stuff we do, and this is a very good move. So, any further questions or comments from anybody? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Proceed with the next one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other is with West Central Sanitation, and again, same general contract. The difference here is it's monthly volumes that we work with. He certainly has a significant, larger clientele base to work from, and just to assure that kind of minimum volume that we're looking for at the landfill throughout the year, then this agreement is broken down into monthly totals. So that's the one thing that's different in this one. So with that, again, staff would recommend approval of it as presented.
So move, Mr.
A
Chair.
motion by Commissioner Emdek to approve, a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further comments or questions? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Gear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Took some time to put that all together, I'm sure.
Sure, we got time.
Do I have time to sign this?
Yeah.
Since we're still kind of waiting? Okay. So we'll just take a quick little pause right here, if you will, please, everybody. Just one page on each one, I take it?
Just one on each one.
All right.
I'm gonna go get a little more coffee.
Yep, that's all. All right. Thank you. I think at this point, We're waiting for one other person to show up. Are you prepared or?
She wants to say a few things, she can say a few things.
Okay, well, moving on our agenda, we are going to have a discussion on Midwest Technology Campus Tax Abatement. And I would like to call on Jim Sieben, Minnesota West Technology Campus. So please proceed, and thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Hey, Jim.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Commissioners, thank you for your time. I got to just tell you one story about Commissioner Emdek. We are Marl team members. We went to the Minnesota Rural Agriculture Leadership Program. He pulled me away in church one day, and he said, "You need this."
I didn't say you need it.
It's more fun. Come on, you know how to tell a story. Nobody tells a story like he tells a story. And he said, "You can't say no." Okay. And I just want to honestly
I have that all the time.
Yeah. I want to thank him because it was a great program. It was something that made a difference in my life, and it was really cool to see. So we talk about.
Mr. Sieben, I just want to call your attention, Ms. Swedberg is here, and we just asked him, we just started, and to proceed with his presentation.
That sounds great, and then I can follow up with more details.
Perfect. It actually worked out probably even better this way.
Really officially start. Did you want to go first?
No, you go
Okay.
first.
Okay.
Please proceed.
We're really easy. So just one more thing about Midwest Technology Campus. Okay, I am the president of Midwest Technology Campus and the president of Novatech Engineering. And back in the day, in 2005, when we were looking at the possibility of purchasing the campus from the state of Minnesota, I have just one story, fun story that I have told many times about Harlan Matson. Harlan, we were describing to a whole group what we were planning to do with the campus. And we're getting through this, and Harlan puts his hand up. Whoa, there's stuff coming at me. This is a Commodore 64 here, and it isn't going in fast enough.
That sounds like.
I told that story just recently again because it's a fun story. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at what's going on out there today, we purchased the campus in 2006, and it truly has been a wonderful partnership with the county, the city, the school district, and these private entities. And we would not be here without the help. We continue to build it, and it is a real gem for this community. But we still have a long ways to go to turn a real profit on it, okay? And the reason we are here is to basically see if we can extend the time frame to when you will start taxing a couple of the additional buildings. We've done this in the past. Those of you who've been here before, we've done it in the past. As we purchase the buildings again from the state, we're still purchasing from the state as we are growing out there. And so that's how the campus has the agreements that we had been put into place. So each time we purchase a few more buildings, we come back and we ask for a tax abatement so we can really get those buildings rolling and starting to be a part of the campus. So what do I have to do to bring this up here? Just grab it here and.
You go that, and I'll take care of here.
Okay, so
Okay,
are you seeing what I'm seeing? Or
You are.
Are you going to be rolling through?
No, you roll through it. They see what you see.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Oh, that's not.
And
the
it's
one-
showing up, you
That
can
is
see on the
not the
side.
one that I want. Okay, we got to close that one out. I really want Candioid County, 3 units. These are some different presentations that I've done in the past for different areas, and now I did one there on entrepreneurship there. Okay.
Is that the one you want, Jim?
It is.
Okay. Because sometimes what we found out is if you have two PowerPoints open, you only can have one open at a time, it won't show.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now you're seing the
Yes.
agenda, right? Okay. So we want to cover the parcel breakdown, requested tax abatement percentage, property values, some Midwest Technology Campus financial information, Midwest Technology Campus investment, economic development, Novatech engineering on the campus, and a closing overview. So what we are looking for here is a tax abatement of $44,450 from Candioid County. Midwest Technology Campus agrees to generate 75 additional new jobs on the campus in tenants over the next 10 years. The agreed investment also in Midwest Technology Campus will be prorated to $2 million. The $2 million will substantially and has substantially been by the local trades. And this investment will be primarily invested in the taxable properties, thereby increase the property tax base. So when we look at the three properties, the information is, we're looking at what we originally had abatements on and what we're requesting for abatements and past abatements that we have had. So you can see the whole picture there. And then we have currently under abatement. So the center one is properties currently paying county tax. So they've expired the 10-year tax abatement already. We are 5 years remaining on the group on the right. And we are requesting 10-year abatement on the three properties in the left columns.
Mr. Chair?
Councilor Gardner.
Just to clarify, and then also for the people watching us today. Jim, when we look at those amounts at the bottom of that current abatement column, that's an annual number? So for example, the 60, and I can't read it here.
It's a total.
69.9.
12 month. Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yep, 6909 is, so as we get further in, we'll show you where we are on those and when they kick in, the rest of them, and then again, how much we've already covered.
I just wanted the clarification that was an annual abatement.
Yes.
Sure, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so Candioid County average yearly taxable property values. Okay, so when we go back to start at 2021, what you will be seeing happening as we get to 26, that's when the other properties come off. And you'll see how the tax had increased from 2021 on the properties that have expired on the tax abatement. And then when we jump to the other properties, you'll see that tax revenue that would be coming to the county. And then when this particular tax abatement, should we receive it when that one expires and what that'll look like to the county. That is the beautiful picture of our campus. So there's some things for you to know that for us to have Midwest Technology Campus actually survive, Novatech Engineering and Life Science Innovation have been subsidizing the campus since the beginning. These are the actual subsidies, a total of the subsidies, and then what our net subsidy still is that we are have not recovered from the campus growing. So you look at our revenue that has been made life to date, and what our net income was life to date against the subsidy that we still have going on. So our companies have put an additional $10 million into the campus over and above what would be our normal lease space. We also lease a lot of the space on the campus. So these are additional subsidies. We've grown the property. For those of you who don't know the numbers, when we purchased the property, at a very reasonable rate, but the state had already looked at what it would be anticipated to actually make it functional. And they had come up with right around $30 million that it was going to take to actually make these spaces usable. Okay, well, today we have 21.7 million into the campus for how far along we are on this journey. So when we look at this is just to show you an invoice. This is one of our latest invoices that Novatech Engineering paid the campus. This is the subsidy amount that we do monthly to help out. And again, this is over and above any space that we actually lease. Here is our employee counts out there now. When you look at the different companies there, total employees down there at the bottom is almost 700. And you can see who has the employee numbers there. And then we have the difference from just 1 year ago. But I have the next slide actually shows what we had back in 2015 when we asked for the last subsidy. So you can see we have grown over 200 and some employees out there on the campus since we put the agreement together. And obviously part of the agreement that we had was guarantees of employee numbers, and we have far surpassed those from what we've been asked. So I can back up and just quickly show you that number again. There's 2020 numbers and 2015 numbers. Okay, here's our income statement on there. Keep in mind that $81,000 of that $81,000 of income, LSI has also put their same share of advancement to the campus to actually achieve that number. Here's where we are in our financials. Our notes payable to affiliates. So the campus has money borrowed from Novatech. The campus has money borrowed. The long-term loan is from the bank, and totaling in the range of $5.3 million. That is presently borrowed against the campus. I'm not going to read these, obviously, but we have a 100-year history that we tell, and we have these hanging on the walls. And then we talk about what we invested back in 2006, 2008. We invested $6.25 million. We added the data center and the cafeteria. We had 12 businesses with 200 tenants. We had 2 visits from Governor Pawlenty, and we started talks with the University of Minnesota to have them out here on the campus. 2009, 2011, an additional $4 million. We worked on and successfully achieved an on-campus daycare. We were at 28 businesses, 328 full-time employees, and At the time, some of the prominent tenants included Cargill and Tenex Health. 2012 to 14, another $5 million of investment. And we completely renovated the auditorium, cafeteria, and produced lots of meeting spaces for the tenants out there. 40 businesses, 450 employees at that time. University of Minnesota joined us, and that was an exciting part. We really felt University of Minnesota made us a very legitimate campus out there for businesses to come and have a really nice tight connection to the university. 2015 to 20, another $8.1 million. Additional things, remodeling to the cafeteria, additional conference rooms. We were at 27 businesses and 693 full-time employees. Novatech Engineering expanded into the shrimp business, and we are excited about that. So I put this together actually when I was chair of the chamber. I asked if anybody really could show what the value of an employee was to a community. And nobody had really an answer to that, so I went home and put together a spreadsheet that kind of laid out what a $55,000 a year employee meant to the community. And I looked at that and, times it by 10 employees, and then I put out there that if it's 660, which are on campus now, if you look at the numbers there and you get down to the bottom line, what it means to the community, $36,300,000. And then I put together another line there. Well, what does that look like for someone who works in our community for 20 years? That's $1,306,000 for 660 employees here in our area. Now, when you do economics, they talk about bounce around the community. When a dollar is paid to the grocer and he buys his gas and he goes to a movie, and they say anywhere from 4 to 6 bounces you can expect. Well, when you look at that number, that is a $5 billion number value to our community. These are the number of employees we have on the campus today. Novatech alone has 266. We're actually, this is a really old slide, like a couple months. We're almost at 300 right now. But we break out kind of in this numbers based, 103 in production, 29 customer service, 68 in engineering, 39 in repair and refurbishing, 14 in business systems IT, and 13 in admin. We occupy 108,000 square feet of the campus out there. And we are in 4 newly remodeled buildings out there. And we just, and why I'm here, we just purchased additional buildings, and Novatech has already moved into some of those buildings also. So we have incredible growth in front of us. We've been on a 15% growth per year. And when you look at this, we have a really cool business model. We lease our products, and 96% of our revenue comes from outside of the state of Minnesota. Over 73% of our revenue comes from 59 foreign countries. Over 85% of new products shipped goes to foreign countries. Machines are built here in Wilmer. We try to keep labor local. Repair and maintenance are done here in Wilmer. And so when you look at the percent of our revenue in the chart there, blue is outside of the country. Midwest Technology Community Involvement. Science and technology partnerships. I don't know if you know of the MAPS program that, I don't know, there's 5 of us businesses that have gotten together with the school district, with Wilmer School District. And there were 13 students. MAPS stands for Manufacturing and Production Services. So when you talk about this, these are students who are likely going to be the happiest in a blue collar jobs. And what some great young people. We have 2 of them working for us now. We have 4 of the recent class that is going to do summer internships. And so they get this early look at the businesses and can make a decision which ones they want to be in. And so this class, 4 of them said they want to be at Novatech. We are in a mentorship program for the robotics classes. We provide scholarships through the Midwest Foundation to scholarships to college. Ridgewater donations and scholarships also. We focus to new community businesses. I am a board member of the Minnesota Chamber. By the way, your chamber, you may or may not know, I had to wear this at our last meeting for a picture. #1 in the country. They were voted #1 in the country. I don't know if you know, Minnesota Chamber made that, so I get to wiggle this little finger around there. Board members of CEO, Candioid County CEO class, creating opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities. We have members on Ridgewater College, and also on the, we produce a ag conference annually here for the community. So the important points I'd like you to consider as you're thinking about this. 2021 LSI and Novatech Engineering subsidy of the campus is $523,000. Our life-to-date subsidy is $3.2 million. Life-to-date total investment in the campus has been $21.7 million. Today, loans against the property are $5.2 million still. Employee count on the campus is 693, and with an average salary estimated at about $55,000 a year. With a 3% annualized increase with that number of employees, it's at $5.2 billion after the 4-time bounce on a 20-year, that number of employees there for 20 years. Going forward, we ask for a continued partnership with the county. And again, for that partnership, we are asking for $44,450 from the Candioid County. Midwest Technology Campus agrees to generate 75 jobs from tenants over the next 10 years. Based on previously displayed spreadsheets, that 20-year value of those employees could bring another $0.6 billion over, including that 4X bounce. The $2 million investment will foster primarily local labor. This investment will be primarily invested in these taxable, increasing the taxable value of these over the years. And going forward, Midwest Technology Campus will be paying a minimum of $95,000 a year, jumping to $165,000 in 2026 of tax to the county. So Thank you for your time, and is there any questions?
Okay, Commissioner Emdek? Oh, I thought you raised your hand.
Oh, I do have questions, but I haven't read mine.
Oh, you were first. Commissioner Gardner, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jim, thank you for your thorough presentation. Again, just to be clear, the request is for $44,450 a year over 10 years in abatement. And then when that abatement ends, and Mr. Kleindl can maybe clarify this for myself and for the general public, at that point in time, that abatement ends, then they're paying property taxes on the increased value of the property moving forward.
That is correct.
Okay. If you could, would you just pull that finger out again for just a minute, the one that you received? This may not be an original thing, but I've got to imagine that that's the nicest way to ever receive a finger from somebody. So, that's all I have. I'll be here all week. Don't forget to try the veal.
I did also have a couple of questions, but you're looking for 100% abatement for over 10 years. The previous abatements, I'm not too well aware of the history. Has it always been 100%? Because historically, I have the feeling that we've done more of a step system on abatements.
Yes, it has always been 100%. Yeah.
So we've done a step-down process. In their packet, they have two options.
Okay.
So today, all you have to decide is whether or not you want to put on a public hearing, and then the options and stuff will be presented at that
I got
public
you.
hearing.
Okay.
So to answer your questions, we have done, the last one we did was Midwest Campus was 100%. The other ones we have done 100% for the first 5 years and then do a step down.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Emdek.
Oh, I don't know if this is the time for the question, but 44,000 would be the 100% request. What would be the step down request?
Sarah can help you with that.
Sarah's probably got in front of her.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to join you today. In your packet, there are two options. So you've got, and what you're seeing, the numbers you're seeing in your packet are the county-only numbers. So the first option, the 100% for 10 years, with the county-only version, make sure I'm giving you the right numbers here. And what we did to back up one step further, what we did is the EDC worked with the county assessor's office to determine, looking at the renovations that Midwest Technology Campus is anticipating for the 3 buildings that they're proposing tax abatement for, what would that increase in value be? And what would that translate then into an increase in taxes? And we use that increase in taxes as well. We capture then to put into these numbers for that new tax abatement. So what we would actually be looking at for if it was 100%, we're looking at a total of $158,776,000 over that 10-year period. So that breaks down closer to about $15,877 each year for 10 years, and that's 100%. The 44,000 number is actually if we combine all 3 taxing jurisdictions, so that would include the city and the county, and we do anticipate going to both of those taxing jurisdictions as well. The step-down version, what we put together, and the step-down version could be, we can play with what that percentage step-down looks like. What we had Ellers put together as just a proposal would be years 1, 2, 3, and 4 at 100%. So again, that nearly $16,000 a year. Years 5, 6, and 7 would be at 70%. Then we'd be closer to $11,000 a year. And the remaining 3 years, we'd be at 40%. That would be closer to $6,000 a year. For your total tax abatement being $115,906. So it's one version of a step down. Again, we could play. We've just proposed a 100, a 70, and a 40% split between those 10 years.
Ms. Swedberg, One question, this is asking for a tax abatement from Candioid County. Are you also asking for a tax abatement from the city?
Yeah, city and the school district, those haven't been presented yet. That would be the next step. As you well know, the county has the largest portion of taxes. And so for this to make sense and to go to those other jurisdictions, we wanted to start with the county just because of how those ratios work out. And as Mr. Kleindl said, this is really an introduction. There would be certainly a tax abatement agreement that comes with this kind of thing, and we can go more in depth in how tax abatement works and all that kind of stuff as well at that public hearing.
Any other questions? Commissioner Endek.
Yeah, I think there's no question the value of the Midwest Technology Campus to the community and region. But as a governing board, we have a responsibility to follow the rules regarding abatements, including the but-for clause. And I'm still trying to get my head around the $44,450. That would be the annual abatement if all three governing bodies participated.
That's correct.
Okay. And if all three governing bodies participate in the step down, what would it be per year?
That's a good question. I don't have that number, but I can get that one
And
for
you can
you.
get that for us.
He's got it in there. Doesn't Ellers have it in there?
We only had them present the county numbers.
With the elder stuff?
Yeah, and that's what you're asking for, is just the county, or do you want all three?
Well, I want to compare apples to apples, so if the one up above at 44,450 included all three entities participating,
Yeah.
then I want to look at what it is.
Yep.
And then the follow-up question is, how often, my understanding is that schools don't very often,
That's for the step down. 158. I'm sorry, repeat that question again.
go ahead if you got your finger on,
We've got a calculator going.
when somebody looks over my shoulder as I'm calculating, I always get it wrong.
If the step down, if it is for everybody, it's at 32 instead of 44.
Per year for the average,
The average
of
per
10
year,
years.
for 10 years, yep.
All right, thank you very much for that. The question I was going to ask regarding schools is, it's my understanding, and maybe it's not correct, that schools aren't very often asked to participate because, frankly, the legislature hasn't kept up with the rate of inflation in funding schools, and so they're often asked, or not asked to participate.
All you're doing today is,
Have they participated in them in the past?
Yes, they have.
Okay. And if the school doesn't participate, could you provide, not today, but could you provide those same comparative numbers?
Yeah, what we can do for the public hearing is we can, instead of, so the two options start with this page that has Eller's logo on it. What we can do is in this packet, we can show you the full scope instead of just the county numbers, so that you can see the breakdown of county, school district, and the city. Absolutely.
And I have some other questions too, but they're probably, sorry.
Go, Mr. Kleindl first, please.
well, if you've got some technical questions, mine is of what the purpose of today is. All we need to do today is decide whether or not you would like to have a public hearing. If you want to do a public hearing, then we need to post in our legal paper that we're going to be having a public hearing and what the ask is going to be up to. Then, if it's the next board meeting, you would have a public hearing, and they would give the background, and then the public could give their input. At that time, then the public hearing can either be closed, or you can continue it and have another one. If you close it, then you can decide whether or not, after you heard all the comments, you want to provide the abatement or not. And you can do that at the next meeting, or you could postpone that to another meeting if you need more information. So that is the process.
So,
Commissioner Endek.
yeah, and I do have more questions, but they're probably not appropriate for today. They're probably more appropriate for the public hearing. And I would move that we schedule this public hearing.
A motion by Commissioner Indeck to schedule a public hearing
I
and,
need you to put the time. The time would be, if you want it for next board meeting, if you, in your motion, put the time and date.
my
I don't know
question.
what our agenda.
Yes,
10
I
o'clock.
sound like I got a
Like
big
10
agenda next
o'clock,
time,
okay.
so.
10
that
o'clock
concerns
on
me.
December, whatever that is.
Is there room to have that?
We have it right here.
Pardon me?
The public hearing for abatement?
On our agenda next time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have time for it.
We do.
we do. I got the book right here.
Oh,
So my
Oh.
motion is
You were
to
pointing that way, I
schedule a
thought.
public
Okay.
hearing for, to consider the tax abatement for Midwest Technology Campus at 10 o'clock on December 21st.
okay.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Gardner. Any other discussion or comments? I guess one comment I would have is, when you referred to Midwest Campus, that it's a gem. It definitely is a gem, and it's a big gem in our community. And we also, as a board, want to really think of, people are going to look at Candioid County, that it's a good place to do business, and the county government is very supportive of our commitments to that. And we appreciate your doing business here and what you're doing. But as Mr. Emdeck made reference to, we also have to treat all businesses the same, pretty much, and look at how we go about doing this. So, but it's just exciting things that you got going, and you just don't sit back, you just keep moving forward, and I'm glad to see that. Any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, I'll call for the question now. All in favor of having a public hearing concerning these recommendations, next board meeting at 10 a.m.?
Aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed? It passed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Okay. Well, we're coming near the end of the agenda, so we're not doing too bad.
I have one thing before, but if you sure you have all the personal stuff? Yeah.
And now, we're at the part of the agenda where we're going to have administrative updates by Mr. Kleindall.
Yes, thank you. Just want to, this is the time of year we start looking at going forward, what's going to take place in 2022 and in the following year. One of the things I would like to have a discussion, probably on January 4th meeting, but again, I'd like to give you information so you have some time to be thinking about what are the options, and so when we have meetings, I don't catch you off guard. One of the things that I think, as we put our committees together and stuff, is looking at realignment of our county board meetings and how we do those. And one of the things I would like to have you start kind of thinking about is, I've been doing research, counties our size or larger, and most counties don't have a separate Health and Human Service Committee meeting before their board meeting. And so one of the things, and I have Jenny up here, one of the things that she and I have been in discussion about is that the best use of staff time? Is there better ways that we can provide information? A lot of counties our size, like I said, just incorporate it into the regular board meeting. Again, that's something that we can discuss. One of the things that I've been kind of kicking around is maybe we would start board meetings at 9 o'clock and would dedicate the 9 to 9:30 time for department updates. All departments, not just Health, Human Services or Corrections or Veteran Services. And maybe there would be an opportunity to hear about whether it be passports or whether it be about driver's license or whether it be about recorder's office or other departments you don't get to hear as much from. We still could do just like we do for Public Works. On big events that we need to have discussions on, you could have work sessions that would deal with Health and Human Services issues if there's big things came up. That's some of the things that could happen. But I just want you to kind of be thinking about that because it would be a change of how you do it. And again, it'd be something that that you would have to agree to. It's your decisions. But I'd like to have start that discussion. I think it would be a good move, but again, if you chose not to do it, we'll keep doing what we're doing. One of the things that it would do also eliminate 2 sets of minutes, 2 sets of setting agendas, 2 sets of doing, agenda items, time to present on stuff that oftentimes we're repeating ourselves on the same information. Most of the stuff that they present is information that you could read. I don't know if there's anything else I'm missing on that.
No, unless there are questions, I can answer.
I mean, I don't have any questions of Jenny during my administrative report that you might have or that you'd want to be thinking about. If you did, I'd yield a few seconds, sir.
Anybody, any comments, question? So you are looking for just information now, or you want us to?
Right now.
Just
Just information?
for information?
Yep, and so I'm trying to give you information, so if we have this discussion on January 4th during our reorg meeting, that's when we would be setting how we set up our stuff. And at that reorg meeting, doesn't mean the very next meeting we'd have to set it up that way. It just says, here's what we're intending to do, here's how we might want to make things look different. I think that would be, a good time to do that. Again, what I like to do is give you guys as much time as possible.
Thank you.
And especially you're going to go to the AMC conference. It's a great time to talk to your colleagues and say, hey, what do you think about that? How do you do that? What are the pros and cons? Information is power, as they say. And if you can get information from other people besides myself, I think that's a positive. So I don't know, if you don't have any questions for Jenny, then I'll just.
Or, Jenny, you feel comfortable and would you recommend this? I understand, but just to hear from you.
Yes, good morning, Jenny Lippert, Health and Human Services Director. So actually, this is something that I approached Mr. Kleindl about probably my second year in this position. Right away, it's great information. It's great for new commissioners, but as you've been in your seats year after year, it starts to get a little redundant. And we've had some times where it's hard to fill our agenda and we're kind of scrambling to figure out who should come and present. And that's when we bring in providers or other people. And so again, I think in conversations with Mr. Kleindl, it's been, is this really a good use of our time? One, for staff and also for all of you. You guys are very busy as well. And so we thought of maybe this being a different way that we can streamline, still give you all of the information and keep you updated, but maybe just in a different way.
So you, just follow up then, you feel you could possibly get all your agenda items into one meeting?
Yes, and I have done my own research talking to other directors in many counties and especially just in our regional 6 and 8 region area, and many of them do not have some type of health and human service committee. Most of them go in front of their county board or they schedule work sessions if there's something big that they need to bring up or inform the board about.
Sure. Any comments from anybody? Commissioner on deck.
I have a question. So we do a lot of contracts. It seems like this morning we had, 6 motions or something close to that. Would the consideration be then that perhaps in our regular board meeting, i.e. this board meeting, we have some consent we start?
It's on my
That's
next.
the next.
Oh, okay, all right. I think that's a very good question.
So
And
to answer that question, so just today, if you look at the agenda today, 5 items on this agenda could have been done on the consent agenda. The gambling permits, the Spicer Fest, the final payment, the minutes, the bills. A lot of those things could have been on the consent agenda. So these contracts, if they're renewals, if they're brand new, you probably want to hear about them. But if they're renewals and they're the same, similar contracts every year, you can put them on a consent agenda. And again, you can pull things off and have this discussion.
So,
Commissioner
Mr. Chair, I was just going to say, maybe perhaps for us in the room and others listening, maybe describe what a consent agenda is.
So a consent agenda is items that you put on a board. The board kind of defines what is going to be allowed on the consent agenda. Items that I already kind of talked about, your minutes, your bills, renewal of contracts, administrative type work, businesses like the gambling permit, the insurance agreements, or to let Spicer use our commercial club, use the park, and things like that. Or it could be administrative reports that I have. If I put them in writing, those things could be done. But you can identify as a board what you want as a consent agenda when we go to that route.
And, go ahead, proceed.
I think Mr. Gardner, and we can look at that consent agenda and ask for things to be pulled out of there too,
Yes.
correct?
Correct. If any one of you, and it can't be debated, if say Mr. Gardner wanted to pull something off the consent, your agreement is it gets pulled and put on the agenda.
But I was going to add, all this information will be in our packet.
Right. It will be in the back,
So we'll
yes.
see all this. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And traditionally, Larry, and for the public again, a consent agenda generally consists of routine, non-controversial items that you're just taking care of business. But it is each one of our prerogatives to request that a particular item of interest might be pulled, maybe for no more reason than for some clarification, but that then you are able to approve the rest of the consent agenda. If we need to lay that item over for something else, we can certainly do that.
That is.
But typically, this is just meant to expedite the process of the general meeting itself.
Correct. And really what it does is that allows you to have more time to discuss other items, and you have more time to do that. So if you had other items that you want to have more in-depth conversations, you're not stopping that conversation to do a routine board agenda. So it just, again, I like to keep your minds thinking and keep you sharp. And so I try to lay things out there so that things I'd like to talk about.
Yep, Commissioner Kleindall, you do a good job of that. But I would just like to, I feel more comfortable now, and I think this can be a win-win situation that, with Jenny as well, but for the board, I think this would give the board some opportunity to even have maybe some work sessions more than we want, or we got to deal with the ARPIET committee meeting, and we could schedule those in that time frame. That way we would all be here, and it's like we've discussed that sometimes it's hard to get everybody's calendars together for another special meeting, and if we have these set ahead of time, and some flexibility, and that's really important, I think.
So when Jenny came to me and talked to me about this committee meeting, I had to laugh, because when I was a family service director, I thought, we didn't need 2 meetings a month to do it. Oftentimes we're making conversation, and I thought even if we went to 1, but it never happened, and it's funny how some things never change.
Yeah, makes me think back to Mr. Kleindall as myself, and it was different then because we had a county coordinator who just became an administrator too, but it was really a chance to meet with the board and to have this opportunity to see the board twice, and of course then we were dealing with the closing of the state hospital, and so that took a lot of time, as well as organization of PAC 4 for families and stuff like that, so we had more agenda items, but I really enjoyed that opportunity to meet with the board, and I know you do, but there's other business and times have changed and things are done differently. So thank you.
Okay. So now the homework time. Okay, now we're talking about what
Switching gears.
now you have the paperwork you have to do. So you got the reorganization meeting coming up on January 4th. Karen gave you your committee assignments and list. Please look at your list. Make sure if you have committees that are needed to be filled, make sure you mark that down. Also, if you could mark on that, when those committees meet, have they changed? And if you're on a joint powers board and that meeting location changes. So as we talk about going on different committees, that somebody else that might be interested, they could look at, this meeting is in Clara City. I wouldn't mind going to that. Or this meeting is in, wherever, and this is a topic I'm interested in, but I can't go because it conflicts with this meeting committee. So it'd be nice if you could kind of write those out and kind of have that ready, so if somebody's interested in a committee, and I would encourage you to talk back and forth about, you know, I know you're on that committee, would you ever be interested in taking a different committee, and I take that committee, or things like that. So now's the time for you to be thinking, so when we sit down on January 4th, we can really process it through, and for those, your second year people, it really gives you an opportunity now to say, okay, the first year was just a whirlwind, you know? And now this year, I have an opportunity to kind of plan that out. So that's your homework.
So we need to submit then a list of what committees we are on and what committees we would like to be on.
And what openings you have.
Yeah, and what openings you have.
And what day and time they meet.
Yes.
Okay?
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Coming into this last year, I'd actually made an Excel spreadsheet with literally everything on it, what time it was supposed to meet, everything, and it really helped me to determine what I was going to be able to be interested in and what I would have time for. Having said all that, knowing, of course, that coming in, we're not going to get necessarily some of the assignments that the longstanding commissioners have already had. But I think it informed a lot of what I was able to do, and especially scheduling-wise, it helped me out quite a bit. So once that request from Karen for us to have the hours, if we could have some sort of grid that might help us understand when everything is actually scheduled for. It's a big ask, I get, but it might help inform us as to if we're interested in something, are we actually going to be able to be available for it, or if we're already committed, that type of thing.
And I think the opportunity will be still there, no matter what we do. Some people say, well, I really like this committee, and I maybe have more than, but I really would like to keep that. And some people want to, and I think that's okay. Or some people say, well, you know, I want to do my share, but that's one committee too many for me to handle, or whatever. They should be able to do that, because I know we're all going to give it 100%, whatever we do. So, very good.
And then the last item, make sure when you go to AMC, you pay attention to opiate conversation at the next board meeting on the 21st. All counties and the cities that are involved in that decision will have to probably sign off before the end of this year. Everything has to be signed agreement if we're going to enter into the federal agreement. Has to be done by January 2nd. So because this is our last the 21st is our last board meeting of the year. Hopefully we have a plan to submit a resolution. The state's ready to submit that, but that will be on the agenda one way or another.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kleindl. At this point, I'd like to ask the commissioners if they have any appointments or anything on their calendar they want to share. And we should do committee updates, but we are running very short on time, so try to condense it and if you can. So I'd like to start with Mr. Gardner. Would you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And actually, going into the holiday, my schedule was quite light, pretty routine. HRA, Convention Visitors Bureau, and that's about it. So realistically, I have nothing to report.
Okay, great. Commissioner Nissen.
Kind of the same thing. I have, the Woodland Centers had two meetings right after our last meeting. One was the corporate compliance meeting, which we have, I think, 4 times a year. And Cindy Fisher has done a great job over the years over there doing that, and she's retiring. So I thought we'd mention that she's done a good job over the years. Now we're going to have to work with someone else. The regular Woodland Centers meeting, there's really nothing new to report there. Chippewa River Watershed is just, we got our One Watershed, One Plan go ahead, and so we're working on that. The CPT meeting in Morris turned out to be one person short of a quorum. And so there's some of the things that we needed to take care of on a personnel level will be handled at the AMC meeting, a special meeting inside of another meeting. I don't know how that works out, Larry, for per diems, but But,
You're like you normally do.
yeah, and other than that, I missed the West Central Industries meeting because I was in Nashville, so I failed in my mission there.
Yeah.
But, that's my
I
report.
don't think we have to worry
Actually,
about you missing many meetings. Thank you.
right now, I'm supposed to be at the Prime West meeting.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because of the switch over in time, I won't be able to do that.
Sure.
Maybe I'll check in a little bit later by phone and in case they need it for them.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Nissen. Commissioner Anderson?
I had just a few meetings. I had a AIS task force, which is Aquatic Invasive Species Task Force meeting. At that meeting, we just made a decision on which different lake associations and projects we were going to give money to. And then, let's see, that was on the 17th of November. Then on the 18th of November, I had a UCAP meeting. That was pretty much a routine meeting. There was also a Pioneer Library System meeting kind of at the same time. Everything was kind of messed up because of the Thanksgiving holiday, so they switched things around. So I had meetings that overlapped, and obviously I can't make them to all of them then. But Raleigh, Commissioner Nissen went to that one, the Pioneer Land one. Then on the 22nd, I had a Extension Service or CEC meeting, and that was basically routine. Part of that was where we did a review of Kathy Schwantes, which she does a fantastic job, but I think she's maybe thinking of retiring. So there might be an opening there for somebody somewhere if they're qualified or whatever. And then on the 24th of November, I had Drug Free Coalition meeting, and that was pretty much routine, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
I'm gonna just do this a little differently, not report about what we did at these meetings, but just to give maybe the public a sense for the number of meetings we attend in a month. So last month, our last meeting was on November 16th. That evening was the Crow River, North Fork of the Crow River Watershed meeting. On the 17th was a business expansion and recruitment meeting at EDC. On the 18th was an Old Mill Inn, the Raceway discussion here in town. And then on the 22nd, we had a meeting regarding Candy Works. And from there, I went over to District 8 and had a meeting with MnDOT. And that evening, we had a meeting at the Glacial Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water District. And I'm going to stop because it's way, way, way more meetings than the public understands. And in between there was a New London EDA meeting, which doesn't have anything to do with the county, and there was a merchants meeting, and so we're busy. And if we're doing our job, we'll still be busy if we adopt a different method of remuneration.
Yes, we would. Very well stated. I'll just finish up too. I had a Prairie Lakes Youth Program, a lot going on there, but really to report it, it's more internal business type of going on. I attended an AIM meeting for, like you talked about, we get involved in these extra meetings, and it's just not showing up, but it's important that we are present, and that it was an AIM meeting at AIM, A-I-M, at Benji Church one evening. Also, we had an extension committee meeting, and that was a very good meeting. And of course, we had the holidays. So at this point, I think we put in a very long morning, and the day is not over. So I'm going to recess our Candioid County Board of Commissioners meeting, and we will reconvene at 6 p.m. today.